Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Answers Yes podcast, where we will explore the cause and effect of just saying yes in your everyday life or in business. I will dig into topics that are not just stimulating, but will challenge you to be better in everything you do. The podcast is based on the simplicity of saying yes to opportunities you might encounter every single day. I'm your host, Jim Riley. Join me in my first series titled Blue Collar Redefined. Hello and welcome to the Answers Yes podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Again, I appreciate your feedback on all of our shows. We've had some amazing guests. Last week we had Ann Zane on, and I've just received a ton of feedback from her. So thank you for that. I passed the word along to her. She was thrilled to be on our show. I apologize in advance. This show usually comes out on Wednesdays, so we're a few days delayed. But sometimes you got to wait for the right guest. And once again, David Meltzer comes through for me, delivering some great people for the show. And today I've got Jeff Fenster on the phone. Jeff, how are you today?
Very good. Thank you for having me.
I know you've got a successful business running right now with Everbowl, and I want to hear all about it. But, man, how'd you get the time off? You said you just opened up 19 locations. It sounds like you're a pretty busy guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely keeping us busy, but I always love to find time to connect with great people and really get the opportunity to connect with new people and expose them to what Everbowl is and what we're trying to accomplish. And thank you so much for carving out some time for us today.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. By the way, if you're listening to the show right now and you're in front of your computer and it's, maybe it's pre-lunch or you're trying to figure out what you're going to eat, dial up everbowl.com because the website is beautiful. I know, well, Jeff, we're going to have to talk about this. You don't have a store in my area, but it'd probably be worth the drive wherever I've got to go. So while you're listening, check out his website, Everbowl, Everbowl. I don't normally do that, but, man, the food looks so good on there. So, Jeff, good job with that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So, this show is about saying yes to opportunities in life, and I've got a brief rundown of some of your bio. So I want to go back in history with you. I know that you're a younger family man with a couple daughters just like myself. But, when did it start for you? Were you a guy that went from high school into college, or did you step out of high school and go straight to a career? When did your work life begin for you?
Yeah, I got my first job at 15, actually, working at the local community pizza place, Pazzo's Pizza, and made my first paycheck and all of a sudden fell in love with the freedom that having some money of your own can provide.
Yeah.
I've never been totally cared too much about money specifically, but what I love about money is what the opportunities it provides for you. So I worked pretty much from 15 till I went to college. Went straight to college at 18, University of Arizona. But I had a ernst inside of me to get out of school. So I actually graduated in 3 years and went straight to law school thinking I wanted to be a sports agent. That was kind of one of the passions I had was I love sports, and unfortunately I wasn't built in a body that could get me there professionally, so I wanted to still stay connected to it, and I love the competition and the passion behind what goes into sports and the preparation. So being a sports agent at that time as a kid, I thought that's really what I wanted. But during law school, I rethought that and came to the realization that actually businesses and industry is really where I was meant to be.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. Where did you grow up at?
San Diego in Scripps Ranch.
Okay, so San Diego. I don't normally associate San Diego with people that want to go to law school to become a sports agent. I just don't hear that a lot on the West Coast. I know David Meltzer was, he was one of the top guys. But what got your attention in that world besides knowing that you weren't going to play sports professionally, but maybe you could be an agent? Because I'm just curious about the industry as a whole and what ultimately made you decide to go a different direction.
Yeah, sure. So David Meltzer, as you mentioned, he's how we got connected, and he's one of my biggest life and business mentors I've had. He's been a close family friend of ours since I was 4 years old. Mm-hmm. His mother and my mother grew up together, so I interned and worked with him as I was kind of going through those teenage years and being exposed to, as you mentioned, he was in the industry, and being exposed to that side of it, coupled with both of our natural love of sport, but I'm 5'9" and 165 pounds. So unfortunately, that wasn't there. So it was kind of just being around it, exposed to it, and the want to stay connected to sports, even though I didn't have the physical tools. I thought that there was other ways to do it. But then ultimately, while I was in law school and learning more about it and growing up and understanding what sacrifices are required and what the job is, kind of led me to decide I really want to spend more time with my kids and have kids of my own and my family, and less time spending, I don't want to belittle the industry, but less time worrying about a whole bunch of other people's family needs and wants. And so it hit me while I was in law school that I was actually chasing what I thought I wanted, but not really. Mm-hmm. And I wanted the freedom to learn and explore and to figure out my own path. And so I decided while I was in law school to divert and choose a different field.
Yeah. Do you have any regrets over not going into law? I mean, a lot of people, and we talk about this on the show frequently, you go to school for something and you put in the time and the effort and the energy and the money, and, maybe your parents wanted you to do that, and then all of a sudden you decide, I'm not going to be in law school anymore. It's not what I want to do, but there's regret or there's shame in not doing it. And I don't think that you should have regret or shame because it leads you to ultimately the path that you want to be on. But how do you feel about that when you look back at it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I believe it's important to be educated in everything you do. So getting the law degree really helped me learn a different approach. It gave me a bunch of tools, analytical thinking, a new style. It also set me up, at least from a credential side, to know that I had something to fall back on. Having that comfort zone, especially when I was 24, knowing that, I can go chase my dreams. I can say yes to opportunities, knowing that worst case, I've spent the time and built the foundation to have a career, and I'm air quoting if you can't see me, in a more traditional method. And I think I needed that at that point because I was still young in my journey and learning how to be an entrepreneur, how to step out of the status quo and the expectations that come. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, I've had zero regret ever since the day that I graduated law school. I've never even stopped to wonder what it would have been like to be a lawyer. It's just not who I am. Again, I'm a guy who likes to come into new industries. I'm a serial entrepreneur, or degenerate, as my wife will call me. And I really like to start new things and really dig my teeth into something, learn the industry, come in with fresh eyes and disruption, put my stamp on it, try something unique and different, and then try something else, because there's so many amazing parts to life in different fields and industries. And the idea of doing one thing for the rest of my life, it's just, I think that's ultimately, now that we're talking about it and you're helping me even gain clarity here on the show, I think ultimately the fear of doing the same thing over and over and over again, mm-hmm. Might have been what drove me out of it. And entrepreneurship allows me to have new challenges and a new job essentially every single day, as what my role is with each of the companies changes as we continue to grow and evolve as brands. So I wouldn't say I have any regret, and I would say that whether someone leaves it prematurely or sees it all the way through, the experience and the learn that you get from it, that I'm a quotes guy, that saying, sometimes you win and sometimes you learn. As long as you learn from it and build who you are, it's just going to propel you forward.
Yeah, I love that quote because oftentimes we don't think about the learning part and what we get out of it, I want to step back real quick just for some of our millennial listeners out there. You were 15, you started working, you got a little taste of freedom from money. And that's one thing that I find with most of our entrepreneurs that are on the show is they started working very early. What were you doing with your money at 15, or what were your goals, and what did your parents think about you working at an early age?
Yeah, I mean, my parents, I grew up middle class America. My parents provided me all the things I needed, but not necessarily all the things I wanted. Mm-hmm. And so, that fine line of understanding and them stressing early on that, you can have whatever you want in life if you go get it, but that's kind of where that stops. So understanding I wanted gas money, I wanted to take my girlfriend out, I wanted to go with friends and have the freedom to go to the movies and maybe go out to dinner whenever I wanted to, and not be limited to the fact that I didn't, that I had to ask mom and dad for money. That created limitations. And in my life and for who I am, I've never done really well with walls. It probably made me a little bit of a troublesome kid with my parents, because telling me how I have to do something or telling me I can't do something has never really worked well for me. Mm-hmm. So having access to cash and understanding that I'm not entitled to anything. So I need to go out and get it, and I need to earn it myself. And so at 15, while I was also playing sports in high school, I worked part-time, and that money gave me the freedom to, to get those extra wants a 15, 16, 17-year-old kid is after. And so I would say that ultimately, starting as young as I could, I was the youngest I could get a work permit, and as soon as I could, I started.
Yeah, good for you. Great lessons in life when you start working early. I started working for my grandfather at 13 in Newport Beach in the fast food business. And, customer service, you learn a lot about people and how to interact and get out of your comfort zone and not be a shy little teenager anymore. So I love hearing that about you. Okay, well, we can yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and in that same vein, one of the things that, and I know we'll get into it later, but about Everbowl, but it ties into what you just said, that is really important to us is we hire high school and college age kids.
Yeah.
That's who runs our store.
Yeah.
And we give so many high school kids their first job, and it's amazing. I love that because you get to experience someone, as you said, they start out shy, but you watch them progress from young adult who's trying to figure out how to have a voice in the professional adult world, and then 6 months on the job, they're confident, they're speaking with anyone who comes through the door, making eye contact and looking and acting 5 years older than when they started. Seeing that maturity and that develop in such a short period of time is invaluable, and I would recommend as many millennials who can find something, whether it's a paid job or internship, get out there into the workforce and start interacting early, because you're going to learn skills that you can't buy later. You can't make that up.
Yeah, and actually I'm going to give a little selfless plug to a previous episode I did with Mark Taylor from In-N-Out Burger on this topic. I talked to him. He's the CEO of the company. They've got over 20,000 employees. And I asked him, I said, what is your favorite part of the job, or what was the best part of your career? And what he told me kind of shocked me because I know him very well. He said that managing the independent stores that he worked at was the best part of his career because he gets to help mold and influence the kids that worked for him in a positive fashion. It was like his own little family. And once you move up the corporate ladder, you don't have that anymore. And I can't help but think about what you just said about hiring, high schoolers or college students in your Everbowl stores. How important that environment is that you're creating for them to learn and look back on those learnings and, their ability to craft the spirit of the store and, the happiness and everything, the success of the store, if you will.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think is really cool, especially, is how much we learn from them. When we started, it was important to do that because there's two rules to work at an Everbowl. It's our culture. It's what's the most important things for any business I start is make friends and have fun. Those are the two foundational principles. And doing that with mature adults in my previous companies, it still provided a good culture. However, when you have that culture with high school and college age young adults, it gets to overdrive, and it's incredible to see these young adults with their ideas. And so many of our 15 and a half to 23-year-old staff members, their DNA is ingrained into the foundation of Everbowl, and some of the things we do today are because of their ideas. And I hope that they're aware and are appreciating how much impact, no matter what you do, whether you are your first day on the job or you're the CEO, the impact you can have on an organization by just bringing who you are to the job. And so once they start making friends and having fun and being comfortable, all of their personalities and their ideas and their thoughts get integrated into what we're doing, and it is so powerful. And we as an exec team, we love it. We talk about it all the time. We share little messages from what we're getting from them and their ideas and incorporating them. And to see the look on their face when it gets implemented all of a sudden and they know that it was their idea and they're not just someone who happens to be working the register for a few hours on a Tuesday at a store. They're officially part of the company, and there's no better feeling.
Yeah. Well, that food on your website just got a little bit better looking hearing about your company culture. I definitely want to talk about Everbowl some more, but I want to go back to when you graduated high school, and I love the story you told me before we went on the air. So as soon as you got out of college, what was your first job, or where did you go from there?
Yeah, so I graduated law school. I was 24, and I got a job at ADP, the payroll company, and I had a lot of success. My first 6 months, I was the number one sales rep in the country, made President's Club, was getting all these awards, making a ton of money, and it was great. And in my contract, I had a $17,000 base increase if I hit a certain threshold of sales, and I cleared it. So I went to my sales manager in January